All right, I'm at home now trying to record this class because it didn't work very well at lunch, but we'll see how this goes. I think it should be better now that I'm here and it's a little quieter and no one's going to come in. So today we are going to be talking about how to find a point on a line and actually solve an equation by graphing, so you can go backwards. All right, so here we go. How do we use a graph to solve an equation is the question. So a linear graph is a straight line. We know that for sure, and since that's what we're working on right now, we also know that if we draw a line that connects the points on a linear graph, that all of the points on that line will solve the equation. All right, so we're going to do an example of this that's pretty easy. So we have y equals 2x, and I've got a table there. So let's figure out a couple of points on that line, and that's really all you need to go ahead and start graphing. So if we put this as x and this as y. All right. So if x is 0 for 2x, 2 times 0 is going to be 0. So we know that this is going to go through the origin of the graph at the very bottom point here. All right. Now, if x is 1, then we put x here, x times 2, 1 times 2 is 2. If x is 2, then y is going to equal 2 times 2, or 4. So that's a pretty easy thing to graph. So we'll do our points now on the graph. Notice I pre-drew it. Makes sense. So we have x at 0, 0. We have a point there. We also have a point at 1, 2, which is going to be where we go. How we line those up, we go along here. And remember that we always label our graphs. I forgot to do that. Just let me finish that. I was talking to someone about this today. If you don't label your graph, someone doesn't know what your steps are. That could be in 5s or 10s or anything. So you have to label your graph. Maybe not all the points on it, but you want to label your graph so that people know what your scale is. So our scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So go back to graphing our points. Now we have one at 0, 0. We also have one that x is 1, y is 2. So x is 1, y is 2. 1's there. And then we have x is 2, and y is 4. So that goes right there. Let me get my line drawing tool. Doesn't work as well on this as I would like it to, but I can have everything, I guess. And we can extend, then, our line. All right, so say I wanted to know what is it going to be in our graph if x is 3. So if x is 3, we'll go in a straight line up from there. So my line tool here. And then I just go across from the graph and I see where it falls. All right. So if x is 3, then y would be 6. And sure enough, if we go up, we see that this ends up at 6. So I didn't have to figure out a point on the table for that. All I did for that was drew the graph and then drew the lines across to see what the 5 and then 6. See what the answer was for x is 3. So you can actually use the graph to figure out solutions. All right. So the next one we have is, here we go. Once you have a line, you can find the other points. So we're going to solve 2x plus 3 equals 9. We want to figure that one out. What will x be if y is 9? All right. But we don't have to figure that out completely. All we have to do is figure out a couple of points on the line. So let's go here. If x is 0 in this case, if x is 0, what is y going to be? Well, we put in 0 for x. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. Write that down. The next one, if x is 1, I don't know what happened there. Something strange. Okay, if x is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5. Okay, and one more point maybe. We'll do 3 points. If x is 2, well, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So there's 3 points on our line. So now all we have to do is graph those points. And you can see that I've pre-drawn my graph. That's actually not as easy to do as you think. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can see that my scale is going up by 1. And this is x. I forgot to label the axis on the other graph too, so you might want to remember to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Reverting. 5. Keep going, we can do a few more. 6. All right. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm waiting for the day that this program lets you print so you don't look ridiculous. All right, so let's plot our points. If x is 0, so we're not going across at all on x, but we're going to go up y to 3. So there's our first point. So it's not going to go through the origin of the graph like the last one. It's going to go through a different place. If x is 1, then y is 5. So I'm going to go to there and make a point. And if x is 2, y is 7. So it's a pretty steep line. I'm going to get my line drawing tool. And of course, my points might not be perfect, but what I'm going to do is draw the straight line through them as well as I can. All right. All right. So we want to know for 9 what the answer is. We go across at 9, and then we go right straight down. And we see that it is at 3. All right. So let's see if that's right. If we have x is 3, 2 times 3 is 6 plus 3 is 9. All right? So what I'm showing you here is that you can find points on a graph just by plotting a couple of points, and you can get some other answers. So for the x example here, 2x plus 3 equals 9. X would be 3 in that case. So then on our table of values, let's get the pencil back. On our table of values, if x is 3, y is 9. All right, so that's pretty easy. And you can do that without making the equation. I want to show you the next thing. Here we go. So we need to make a table of values for what we know and then graph it. So we can look at this, and we know that we've been doing these before. So one of the things that we'll do is we'll use the figure number on the table. And you're going to be doing this for homework. Oh, that's terrible. I'm going to just clear that off. Okay, there we go. So for homework, what I want to do is make a table of values. And it's going to look like this. And the first thing in the table of values is going to be n. And that's for the figure number. And then you can make the next thing c if you want, which would be for the number of circles. All right? So we know that we'll do the first one together. If n is 1, figure number 1, how many circles are there? Well, we count and we see that there's 5. Okay? So we're going to make a table of values for what we know, and then we're going to graph it. So if you're looking at this picture here, I'm going to go to the next page. And it's still there. So what I want you to do, you've got the 3 pictures, and there's a certain number of dots in each picture. So what I want you to do for homework, I want you to draw the graph, and then I want you to find the number of circles in the 5th figure. And I don't want that to be by figuring out the equation. I want you to figure it out by graphing. So I want you to do exactly what I did on the previous page. I'm just going to go back there and show you, all right, where I did this thing, where I had the line, and I drew it and extended it to figure out the answer. So for yours, I want to know when figure number is 5. So remember, we started with our table of values here. So we're going to continue that along for maybe 2. So figure number 2 will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in that figure number 2 is 8 circles. Figure number 3 has so many circles. You don't need to make your table of values any bigger than those 3 things. And then I want you to graph it and figure out the number of circles in the 5th figure by extending the line on the graph. All right? Use graph paper or draw these lines carefully using a ruler. I had a lot of very sloppy graphs on some of the work, and I'd like you to have your graphs be a little bit professional looking. So I don't want any sloppily drawn graphs on a piece of lined paper. You can use lined paper if you don't have graph paper at home, but I want you to use a ruler and make them straight. And then I want you to connect the lines, making them straight. Otherwise, this is not going to work very well. All right, so I will see you on Monday. Have a great long weekend.